Before we see the best of the best, it's time to take a quick look at the best of the rest. Illustrious aircraft that flew in just shy of our top 10. The F-18 Super Hornet, a tough, adaptable carrier-based fighter. The Mitsubishi A6M0, an aircraft that swept all before it in the early days of the Pacific War. And lastly, America's whistling death, the F-4U Corsair. In third place on our list of the top 10 fighters of all time, an aircraft with an enviable service record and a hard-hitting reputation. The first fighter to incorporate titanium in its construction, this jet set 15 aviation world records in its first 18 months of operation. The F-4 Phantom. Manufacturer, McDonnell Douglas. Power plant, 2 J79 turbojet afterburning engines. Top speed, 2,390 kilometers per hour. Armament, 4 AIM-7 Sparrow and 4 AIM-9 Sidewinder missiles. The Phantom rates as one of the most successful warplanes of all time. Certainly one of the most successful post-war fighters. And it has the distinction of being the second most prolific American jet fighter to be built, outnumbered only by the North American Sabre. The Phantom was the first true multi-service aircraft, flying concurrently with the US Navy, Air Force and Marine Corps.
The Phantom is a rock-solid performing fighter aircraft. It has all the right characteristics. It has the capability to defeat most of the known adversaries then, not today, but in the prime of its service life. It has the capability of being developed. Reconnaissance, suppression of enemy air defenses, a bomber version. It has all of that, it has the flexibility. Easy enough to fly, easy enough to support, relatively easy to manufacture.
The F-4 Phantom was in continuous production for 20 years, from 1959 until 1979. At the height of its manufacture during the Vietnam War, 72 Phantoms were rolling out of the factory every month. But the jet does have its critics.
American Air Force pilots in the Vietnam era said that there was nothing to lose if you fly it sideways instead of flying it frontwards, because it was so horrible in its aerodynamic capabilities.
Every peculiar bend you see in that airplane, you know, the wings go down like this and the tail goes down like that. Those are all aerodynamic band-aids for bad handling and misdesign. It's a big kludge. It's a bad handling airplane. The only thing it had was fairly big engines.
It had 2 big fat engines. It was too heavy. The wing was not big enough for its weight. The Phantom was a very big, very fast bus.
If you have a nice bus and you have big enough engines, it'll kick the ass out of anything. So it could really go fast, and it was really the first airplane that came out and took the next step in the weapons capability.
Built without a gun, the Phantom relied entirely on new missile technology. But these first-generation air-to-air missiles were unreliable, and the Phantom's early experiences in the Vietnam War were unimpressive.
It was the airplane that achieved for us a disgraceful exchange ratio in Vietnam. I mean, for a good part of the war, we were only getting 1-to-1 exchange ratio against pilots of much less sophistication than us, against a MiG-21 that's a very badly flawed airplane.
I think the airplane got a little raw reputation in the beginning, not because of its overall capability, just because of the tactics being utilized. Once those tactics were altered, then you wound up getting right back up there and having a substantial kill ratio advantage.
After its early harsh lessons in Vietnam, Phantom IIs went on to earn an impressive 277 air-to-air combat victories. And in service with the Israeli Defense Forces, the Phantom claimed 116 air-to-air victories in conflicts between Israel and its Arab neighbors.
In terms of fear factor, yeah, certainly. Talk to Syrian pilots, talk to Arab pilots about it. We're talking about an aircraft in the hands of the Israel Air Force, which was a superb aircraft over the Bekaa Valley, being able to defeat aircraft of a generation better that were being flown by Russian pilots in Syrian markings. I think there's no doubt that the Phantom has shown itself around the world to be an outstanding aircraft.
From 1958 until its US service retirement in 1996, F-4 Phantoms flew more than 27 million kilometers, the equivalent of one aircraft flying continuously for more than 2,000 years.
For nearly half the time that man has been able to make powered flight, the Phantom's been in squadron service. It's still there today. That alone is a good enough testament.
Produced in large numbers, the F-4 Phantom has an unrivaled service history. But the aircraft really earns its third place for being fast, durable, and deadly. The Phantom was the test case for missile technology and held 5 speed records for an impressive 13 years before being beaten by the number 2 aircraft on our list.